Welcome into USGA Rules Live, the second episode of our fresh new year in 2019. We're going to be joined by the man who is in charge of the rules for the USGA, Thomas Pagel, for some clarification. And we're going to answer your most frequently asked questions so far this year. And indeed, I am joined by Thomas Pagel. It's been a fun year. So far, it's fresh still.
Yep.
The rules now, everybody's starting to get their arms around it and understand exactly how it's going to affect their games. But when we look to social media, some things are starting to gain some traction, so we need a little bit of clarification.
Yeah.
Let's start with the bunkers. What can we and what can't we do when we hit the ball in the bunkers now?
So Ned, I think part of the question here comes from the fact that we've separated out what we used to think of hazards, right? So water hazards and bunkers were all the same. Now we have penalty areas where we're telling you can do all sorts of things, right? You can ground your club, you can take practice swings. Well, we've separated bunkers from penalty areas, so now you have to think of them as two completely separate rules. When your ball's in a bunker, so that area of sand that's been prepared, you still can't ground your club, you still can't test the conditions. So there's no practice swings in there. You can't ground your club behind the ball.
Right.
There are some things you can do, right? You can move loose impediments, so those natural objects.
Right.
And if you happen to touch the sand when you're doing it, no big deal.
Okay.
You can throw your equipment down. Again, if your hand touches the sand, you disrupt the sand. As long as you're not testing, you're okay. And then we still have a provision that allows you to care for the course, right? So if you have to walk across the bunker to grab a rake, you can rake up your footsteps before you play your shot, as long as you haven't improved your line or one of those things. So it's not an absolute, right? It's not a matter of you can never touch the sand. You just need to be sure not to test the condition, not to ground your club in front of or behind your ball and take those practice swings.
And don't forget, you can also take your drop outside of the bunker now. I'm a big fan of this one.
I'm hearing a lot of good feedback about this change, right? People are saying, wait a minute, for a two-stroke penalty, I can drop out behind, and I just might take advantage of that. And absolutely. Now, under the unplayable, right, the first three options cost you a one-stroke penalty, whether it's stroke and distance, dropping on a line in a bunker within 2 club lengths in a bunker. But now you have that two-shot penalty option where you can take it outside on the line. I think a lot of people are going to like it.
Mom, I love you, but that's an option you should consider. Social media is blowing up about the double hit. Right?
Yes.
You've seen the videos for sure of the
clipping
it and then zipping it around the trees.
That's some skill.
That's not legal, though, is it?
It's not, and I think that there's some confusion out there. People are thinking, wow, I can just double hit now. I have this carte blanche ability to do these things. The provision that doesn't penalize you, it's all about accidental, right? So we wanted I hate to use this, the TC Chen, right? So he hits it, boom, had no intention, hit it a second time. There's no longer a penalty. We count it as one stroke. Now, if somebody pops it up in the air with the stroke and then intentionally hits it, that's still a penalty.
Yeah. But it's pretty cool.
But
definitely a penalty. Now, out in Hawaii at the Tournament of Champions, Bubba Watson in a practice round with his caddy, Ted Scott, and this went viral, hits a putt past the flag. Ted is, again, this is in a practice round. Ted's tending the flag. He pulls it out. And then he realizes the ball chases past the hole. It's going to come back and has the chance to go in, so he puts the flag back in.
And then took it out, and then put it in,
and
took it out.
then Bryson DeChambeau responds, just explain for us, what can we do? Was that legal?
Sure. So now we no longer have a penalty if you make a stroke from the putting green and you hit a flag stick that's been left in the hole, right? But that's a decision you have to make as a player. So if you have the flag stick attended, I mean, your caddy's standing there, your partner's standing there, they're close enough to grab the flag stick or they have it in their hand. You make that stroke, that flag stick still has to be removed. They don't have the option of lifting, putting back, lifting, put it back. So if you have that flag stick removed or you have it attended before your stroke, it's got to be out of there, right? There's a penalty if you were to strike it. Now, if you choose to leave the flag stick in the hole, that's where the no penalty kicks in. So again, if the flag stick's removed or if the flag stick's attended, make sure it's removed because, again, if somebody does what Ted did where they intentionally put it back in, you're going to ultimately have a penalty.
So I can't be standing, my caddy can't be standing right next to the flag. I hit the putt, and he's kind of gauging the speed and then pulls it out or puts it back in. It's either one or the other.
Exactly. That's exactly right.
All right. Always dropping knowledge on us. Thomas Pagel. Hey, we're going to be right back with Joe Foley. He's going to take your seat. But first, here is Mike Trostel to fill us in on a special anniversary that's being celebrated here at the USGA.
Thanks, Ned. The USGA was founded on December 22nd, 1894. And as part of the lead up to the USGA's 125th birthday this year, we're celebrating the history of golf in America by highlighting a state plus Washington, D.C. and Puerto Rico each week. We started with Delaware and will work our way across the country in 2019, talking to pro golfers, celebrities, and other significant figures in the game to get the skinny on golf in their region. This week, we chat with a pair of two-time U.S. Women's Open champions who both grew up in Nevada, Patty Sheehan and Inbee Park. Stay tuned all year as we celebrate 125 years of golf in America. Now we go back to Ned and Joe for your most frequently asked questions.
Thanks, Mike. Looking forward to seeing the results of that project. I am joined by Joe Foley. And Joe, at the USGA, we've been getting a lot of the questions, the same questions over and over again. So we're going to answer them right here on Rules Live emphatically. So let's take a look. All right, do these rules apply to everyone?
Yeah, Ned, they do. Single set of rules for the entire game, whether you're an amateur golfer or an elite player at the professional level. On January 1st, these kicked off for everyone, so we encourage everyone to dig in and start playing by them right now.
All right. Up next, frequently asked questions. How literal is the knee height measurement? This is a good one.
It is, and you know, look, knee height drop can be a little bit awkward the first time you try it. But look, just as from shoulder height, if you were just a little bit below shoulder height, a little bit above it, you know, you were fine. We have this new standard in the rules, reasonable judgment standard. If you're doing your best to drop from knee height, then that's all we really need you to do. So do your best to drop it right from that knee height.
Okay, makes sense. Get as close as you can to your knee. It's pretty simple.
Yep.
All right, again, a couple more coming your way here. Frequently asked questions. What can you repair on the putting green?
You can repair almost anything on a putting green. We have, we've kind of made this rule a little bit easier for a player out there. They don't have to decide whether it's something that's damaged on the golf course that they have to figure out if they can repair it. In the past, you had some limitations there, but now anything that's damaged that's made by a person, an animal, maintenance practice, you're able to repair. Just don't improve anything else in addition to repairing that.
All righty, let's go back to the question list. Similar, but I like this one. This is an important delineation to make. Can I fix aeration marks, and what about old aeration marks?
So good follow-up here, because we had said that, you know, maintenance practices, if there's any damage to the green, then you know you want to make sure that you have the ability to repair damage that's made from maintenance practices. This is not something we would consider as damage, right? This is something that is a regular practice by a grounds crew. So aeration marks are things that are on the green that you're not able to repair. So we would just recommend you leave them there in place when you're playing on the golf course.
That's when you go to the old automatic two-putt rule that my dad and I used to have. Okay, let's take another look. Frequently asked questions, we are answering your questions. Can I use my wrench to change my driver on the course?
So no, this is no change from last year. Essentially, you know, when you've selected sort of the way you want your driver to be played, how you want to use it on the golf course, the settings that you have prior to the round, you're not able to adjust those during the round to change the playing characteristics of the club. That said, if something goes wrong with the driver, if the head becomes loose and you just need to get it back into place, you're able to repair that club and get back playing with it.
All right, another equipment question. Can I replace a broken club if it broke in the normal course of play or by accident?
Yeah, so a simplification here. I mean, this is, you know, there's going to be some circumstances out there where a player just does this by accident and it's unfortunate. But right now, we're saying it's a simpler rule. Essentially, you have 14 clubs you start with, and you have to play with those 14 clubs. If you start with less, you can add clubs up to 14, but the 14 you start with are the 14 you finish. If you damage a club for any reason, you can continue to play with it. But if you do break it in that case, then you can either try to keep playing with it or just you're going to be left with a 13 that you have still in your bag.
That was the point, simplifying things. You got 14, and those are the ones you're going to finish with.
Yep.
All righty, keep going. Two more questions. Can a committee at any level, including majors, put in a local rule that you cannot leave the flag stick in?
Yeah, good question. We've heard a little bit about this over the last couple of weeks since January 1st. The short answer is no. I mean, these rules, as I said earlier, are in effect for everyone at all levels of the game. We've had buy-in and support from all the tours and you know, different administrators and industry stakeholders, and all are supportive of the new rules. people might not love every single one, but the point is that all these different committees, when they're conducting championships, are going to be using the same rules. So not something that we would permit. There are some local rules that a committee could use, but you really can't put a local rule into effect that would waive a rule of golf that's in effect for everyone else.
All right, that makes good sense. And the last question, this is one that just keeps coming up, but let's address it. Why not? Tell me again why sand-filled divots aren't ground under repair.
Yeah, a question we've gotten a lot. There's certainly a vocal group of people who believe that you should get relief from divots in the fairway, whether they're sand filled or they're not filled. Look, it's part of the game. There's situations where you get good lies in the rough and bad lies in the middle of the fairway, and this is one of them. So we could certainly get in a debate about whether or not it's fair to get a situation where you have a ball in a divot in the fairway, but this is a core principle of the game, and we chose to maintain that throughout this process.
It does have some similarities to the aeration marks on the green, especially when you see top dressing and sand-filled, divot, aeration mark. You can't repair it, got to play it.
And the hardest part is with divots, it's often hard to decide and determine whether or not your ball is in a divot or whether or not it's actually a divot. Maybe it could be a natural indentation or just grass that's not growing in the right way, and we're not going to look to give you relief in those circumstances. So, this is what we're going with, and we'll see how it plays out.
All right, it's been that way, and it stays that way. Hey, remember that you all can get involved anytime you want. If you have questions, at USGA on Twitter, rules@usga.org, and of course you can still go the old-fashioned phone, 908-326-1850, and Catherine Belanger and her entire team, they'll be there to answer your questions. Well, thanks to Thomas Pagel, thanks to Joe Foley for spending your time with us and helping us understand the rules even better. Awesome. We will see you all next month in February.